All right, let's be honest. Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2025 is kind of a mess. Power creep is out of control, and some cards feel like they were designed solely to make people quit the game. In this video, we're counting down the top 5 cards that make Yu-Gi-Oh! Unplayable right now. And by cards, I mean the kinds of effects that are actively ruining the experience. And whether that's floodgates or turn skips, or even cards that you think are appropriate to be put on the list, because I'm leaving the final spot open to you guys' suggestions, we're gonna be talking about all of it. So please drop your pick for the most miserable card in the comments down below and like the video if you enjoyed it. Let's jump straight into it. So public enemy number 1, Troll and Lockbird. This discussion is pretty much everywhere. Everyone's talking about whether or not Droll is a card that's gotta be banned right this very second, or just left at 3 forever because it's a necessary evil that's gotta be in the format because some decks are just too broken. In my opinion, this card is a problem because not only is it a complete turn skip for some decks, it also makes it so Rogue struggles a lot. And I think that goes without saying for a lot of hand traps, unfortunately. Rogue is going to have a tougher time in that kind of field. But the issue is that a lot of times, Droll specifically is making you pass on the spot. And the same thing was happening with Shifter, which they decided to limit, but they left Droll completely untouched so far. So that's something to think about. Should Droll actually exist? And should you always have a route in place that you follow when you get Drolled? Is that even a possibility? In some decks, there's not. I'll move on to the next card because we've got a lot to cover, but please share your thoughts on this discussion in the comments down below and we can really get into it there because Droll is quite a big problem and people have very mixed opinions on it, so I would love to know yours. Now let's move on to the next card, which might be a bit of a controversial one, but in my humble opinion, I think X-Tries You is a huge concern for the meta. Now you're maybe like, why? Oh no, it's just X. It's just part of the Rise You archetype. It's a free special summon. It's whatever. But when you really think about it, and when you've been playing this format for a long time, one of the biggest concerns you have when you go first is, okay, if my opponent has an X, at least one of my interruptions is just gone, and my board is gonna start crumbling because as soon as they have X and they have the ability to send something to the graveyard that's either going to disrupt you or put a Raizio in the grave, so even if you get rid of the X, they could still have a sword or search a sword if you don't stop the X to follow up and continue playing. So not only is X going to give you a body, the ability to special summon sword for free because you've got a Raizio either on the field or in the graveyard, the ability to search sword or node that you might need, but it also is able to send a potential disruption to the grave. This card does it all. It's a level 4 and it's just a problem. It's just a problem, and I swear I'm not just in some personal beef with X. For some reason, I think a lot of us feel the same way, and I definitely think this card has to be on the list of the most notorious offenders of 2025. Let's move on to the next topic, and this is actually going to be a cluster of cards. At first, I wanted to include all of them on the list separately, but then we would have to be doing a top 10 cards that are making you unplayable because God knows we could talk about a whole lot of cards. But let's compile this into sections and let's talk about the next 3 cards all together. It's gonna make sense immediately. It's Talents, Called By, and Crossed Out. If you watched my latest video on the channel, I already discussed these 3 cards as well as Droll and the issues they represent in the format, but let's get into it again in case you haven't seen it or in case you just want to listen to me rant or rant on your own in the comment section. So I think it's a problem when these types of cards are limited because it gives you a Saki factor, and that's never a good thing in my opinion. When your opponent has a Called by the Grave, you literally just want to scream. And when you have it, you're completely relieved and you feel like nothing can go wrong. And it's just this very, very unfair imbalance of power when this kind of thing happens, because usually like 95% of the time the player with the cross out or the called by or the talents is winning, unless you open a super unfortunate hand and you literally open just non-engine or like a cross out target and no starters, but that's very rare. And when you have a cross out on top of everything that you're doing, you actually have the ability to even set it and then cross out something like a talent or a board breaker when your opponent is going second. And that's actually super, super important and valuable because you don't gotta quote unquote waste it to push through your opponent's disruptions and hand traps if you can do that either in other ways or they just don't have it, and then you can keep the cross out for something else. Not to mention that cross out is great in a mirror match scenario as well. Like, these cards are crazy. Talons having the ability to do 3 things depending on what you just want to do at that point is absolutely absurd. And why this card was at 3 for the longest time still baffles me. And we all know how Talons take for game is just completely insane. Being able to rip a card out of your opponent's hand and playing through multiple disruptions, getting that draw that really comes in clutch. Like all of these cards are just, they've been a thorn in our sides for the longest time, and I don't know if limiting them is really the correct way of addressing them. Now, let us move on to the next group or cluster of cards. It's going to be turn skips. And by turn skips, I mean literally everything that says, I flip this card, or I summon this card, or I resolve this effect. You're not playing because I'm locking you out. Protoss, Harpy's Feather Storm. Against Malice, that used to be Lancia, and I would argue that card was quite problematic. Obviously, every single player that faced Malice was super relieved, but when you were playing the deck and there was literally nothing you could do before the support dropped, which is backup secretary, which makes it a little easier to play through Lancia, that was quite an issue, not to mention that Lancia does hurt other decks as well. It's not just Malice. And I don't know, I think this card is it's quite problematic. I don't think we talk about it enough, but maybe I'm just biased because I played Malice and I was personally scarred because of Lancia. But let's talk about those turn skips like Protoss, like Harpy's Feather Storm. I think all of these cards, including the likes of Water Barrier Statue or any barrier statue for that matter, should be banned. Because why in the world do we have to have all these barrier statues available for them to become completely broken at one point in time, inevitably, when we could just ban all of them together? Also, Harpy's Feather Storm. Either you make it into a Harpy only card, you just give it an errata and that's it, and all the Harpy players can rejoice, or just ban it. Because it's not okay for you to flip a card and say, okay, you just pass it back to me, like, it's done, it's over. Also, Protoss. Like, people say that Protoss is fine because by the time you're resolving Protoss, you're already winning. And I get that to an extent. But on the other hand, it's an engine that you can play in your deck for going first if you got a strictly going second deck. It's just this very unhealthy part of your deck. And I don't think we need these types of cards in the meta. There was a point in time when we had quite an interactive format lately, actually, and we didn't need to rely on turn skips all the time because we would actually be passing back and forth in the likes of a Raizio mirror match or even Malice up against something else because you could grind with that deck as well. Like, it doesn't always gotta be about I have to make my opponent literally pass turn. So with that, let's talk about the last card on today's list. And I did already say in the intro, I'm trying to leave this spot to you guys because I know there's a lot of y'all out there that got issues with specific cards that I personally don't deem as problematic or oppressive. Some of y'all hate Charmies with all you've got, with a passion. But I don't think Charmies are a problem. Some of y'all really dislike specific Malice cards. And yeah, arguably some of these ones shouldn't exist. Like, just get rid of White Binder or something and be done with it. What do you think a card is that makes it so the game is unplayable once it's introduced into the meta? Is it how oppressive it is? Or how completely OP it is? Is it hard to out? Is it a turn skip? Is it a hand trap? I really want to know what you guys think, and also give me some ideas about how we can improve this game and which cards should actually be banned for us to continue into a healthier format, which hopefully Justice Hunter's format is, because we also know that draw is not going to be as crazy anymore. And I think as soon as non-engine changes, things are going to be a little better. But we also got to keep in mind that we're not getting a ban list until probably start of September or middle of September, meaning we're going to go into a crazy format right now. With the release of Justice Hunters, we are literally going to find ourselves in a predicament, let's just say, because all of these decks from all the latest sets are just going to be full power in a single format, Fiendsmith is not hit at all, and I think some of you guys are maybe going to put Fiendsmith cards as the last card on today's list as well. So we got Fiendsmith, we've got Justice Hunters decks, we got Duelist Alliance, Battles of Legend. Everything is up for grabs. You can do whatever you want to and build a deck. And I think with this kind of format, it's gonna be a little scary. So that's why I wanted to talk about some insane cards in this video to really determine what makes a format unplayable. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I again do encourage you to chime in with your thoughts in the comments. Of course, make sure to ding the bell so you are notified when I post. I love doing these types of discussions, and if you guys enjoy them too, make sure to give the video a like as well, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!